Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus, here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is the end of the week, Friday, the 26th of January 2018. Let's have a look at what's making the political news. So to start off with, President Trump has apologised, sort of, for what he did on Twitter, retweeting Britain First. Now, in an interview with Good Morning Britain, due to be aired on the weekend with Piers Morgan, President Trump sort of apologised, and I'll just quote you what he said. He said, "If you're telling me that they are horrible people, I will certainly apologise if you'd like me to do that." He went on to say he knew nothing about Britain First when he retweeted their material last November. That, of course, caused that big tension between Prime Minister Theresa May and President Trump, Theresa May condemning him publicly online and Trump firing a message back about the failure to tackle extremism, Islamic extremism in particular, in the UK. Talking about President Trump and Theresa May, they both met yesterday in Davos and agreed that President Trump will make a working visit to the UK later this year. Now, working visit, does that mean he's going to be meeting the Queen and all the pomp and ceremony of a state visit? No. Possibly he will be meeting the Queen at lunch at Windsor or something like that, but that is still to be unconfirmed, or at least it's information that hasn't been released yet. And President Trump will be making his Davos speech at 1 p.m. today as the event wraps up for this year. Someone else who is also making a speech at Davos, which is the first time he is actually attending, is Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell. His tone will be probably slightly different to what President Trump is saying, however. Reports are saying this, as him in his speech will be saying, the status quo allows a powerful few here at Davos to sit in splendour while the great many lose out. This, as I said, is his first appearance at Davos amongst the global elite. Next story, David Davis, the Brexit Secretary, is making a speech today about 2:30 p.m. in Middlesbrough, and he's going to be talking about the transition deal, specifically what the UK is looking for in terms of this agreement. Now, it's still unclear what the length is going to be, a year, 2 years, 21 months or whatever. But the key lines coming from that, in terms of what the papers are saying, is that Britain intends to negotiate and sign trade deals with other countries during the transition period. Now, this has been something the EU has been very clear can't be allowed to happen. The UK basically must stay in the same relationship as it enjoys currently as an EU member during this transition period, or implementation period as the government has been calling it. He's also done a joint opinion piece with International Trade Secretary Liam Fox in the Mail today. Pick up one of those if you're interested in reading more. But this all goes to the civil war in the Conservative Party, which is something that's been rumbling on over the past few days and past weeks, specifically over Brexit. So Philip Hammond has obviously reportedly made comments at Davos wanting a high level of alignment with the EU and freedom of movement post-Brexit in the EU-UK relationship, something which has infuriated the Brexiters in the Conservative Party, people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, who want a very much firmer line in the negotiations. And interestingly enough for Theresa May, the reports coming through today is that the number of letters which Graham Brady, the 1922 committee chair, has received is growing fast to that 48 figure. Now, if that 48 figure is reached, that will trigger a leadership contest, or at least question Theresa May's leadership of the Conservative Party. Potentially, some reports are saying Boris Johnson is now ready to challenge the Prime Minister for the top job. Interestingly, though, the Telegraph reporting that David Davis's speech today has in fact been toned down in the hope of avoiding that leadership challenge. One more story then. This comes from Europe. Germany and the German Chancellor, German coalition, talks will begin today about 9 p.m. Angela Merkel, German Chancellor, will host the SPD and CSU leaders to kick off the next phase of these general talks. Last weekend, the SPD convention approved the party to continue formal talks into the next stages after a preliminary coalition agenda was agreed. The real question here, and in the papers it's how being reported as well, is what Martin Schulz, who's the chairman of the SPD, will be doing. So initially he said after the election in September, where the SPD did phenomenally badly, he said they will never go into a coalition, grand coalition, with the CDU-CSU. He's now obviously changed his mind. The SPD is now happy to begin talks about this coalition. He's also said he would never serve in a Merkel cabinet. He's not interested in the power element. However, recent reports suggest he's now ogling perhaps for a position in the foreign ministry. This is, of course, annoying people within his own party, the SPD, who thinks that he should be focusing more on being chairman rather than pursuing any political ambitions. That's going to be a really interesting story in the next few days coming out of these formal coalition talks, and something I recommend everyone still keeps following. But that's pretty much it for today, and indeed this week. We'll be back next week on Monday morning. But from me and all the team here at Core London, have a fantastic weekend.